Hi everyone, and welcome to the series on Native Instruments Maschine. We're going to be taking a look in this series at Maschine's mixing capabilities. Now before we get started at looking at the mixer section itself, we're just going to do a little bit of setup. So I've got Maschine loaded up here in standalone mode, and Maschine is able to accept inputs from your audio interface, and it's also able to send sound out through your audio interface as well. And these inputs and outputs actually come in handy in a few different ways, so it's important to know how to set them up. Now in Maschine standalone mode is actually really easy. We're just going to go into the drop-down menu up here, go to File, and Preferences. Next we're going to go to Audio. And if we take a look down here, you'll see Maschine has a number of inputs available, which are currently not connected. And it has a number of outputs available as well. Only outputs 1 and 2 are connected right now. And this is really because we're running in core audio through the Mac sound card. If I change this to my Thunderbolt interface, it immediately assigns all the inputs from my interface and all the outputs available as well. Now if you need to change an assignment, it's as simple as clicking on the drop-down menu and making your assignment here. Okay, so I'm just going to reset that. Now I'm just going to close out of this. So when you're running Maschine in standalone mode, the setup is that simple, and Maschine now has direct access to my interface's inputs and outputs. Now, the other thing you might want to do is if your interface has a MIDI input and output, just want to go back to the File and Preferences area, and just go down to the MIDI page right here. And you can see you've got your options here for your MIDI inputs and your MIDI outputs. So if I wanted to send MIDI out from Maschine through my interface to some other device, I would just tick this box right there. Now on top of that, Maschine also has its own physical outputs and inputs from MIDI as well, which you can select right here and here. And it also has virtual inputs and outputs, and these are used in conjunction with software loaded into Maschine. We'll be taking a look at that in another series though. So I'm just going to close out of this now. And next I want to take a look at setting up the inputs and outputs of Maschine in a DAW such as Ableton Live, Logic, or Cubase. So let's take a look. Okay, so here we are in Live. Let's first take a look at setting up some inputs into Maschine. So here's an audio channel right here, and we want to send this audio into Maschine. And by the way, this would also work for a virtual instrument. You just need to go to Audio 2, down here, and select Maschine. You then have access to Maschine's 4 stereo inputs. So it's actually 8 inputs, and this is the first set, and it goes down to the 4th stereo channel. Now if you want to get audio from Maschine, you just simply go to Audio From, Maschine, and choose the output of Maschine right here. So it's very straightforward. By the way, it's a very similar procedure for MIDI. You just open up the MIDI From menu here and select Maschine. And if you want to send MIDI to Maschine, you just go down here to the MIDI output, to the Maschine, and you can specify a channel as well. So that's the procedure in Live. Let's take a look now at Logic. Okay, so we're here in Logic. And some DAWs are going to actually require a slightly different version of the plugin to give you access to the multiple outputs. Logic is an example of one of those. So when you go to load up Maschine in Logic, you want to go to your Native Instruments folder, and go to Maschine, and you want to use this version right here, the multi-output version. So I'm going to click on that there. I'm going to hit Create. And there's Maschine. And now to gain access to those multiple outputs, we're just going to go into the mixer. And the shortcut by default in Logic is just the letter X. And you'll notice down here on our Maschine channel, we have this plus. So I can just click on this, and it will give us access to all the individual outputs coming from Maschine. So this will go up to auxiliary 15 here, which if you include this channel makes 16 outputs. This is quite straightforward. Let's take a real quick look at doing this in Cubase next. Okay, so here we are in Cubase. I'm just going to go to Devices, VST Instruments, and I'm going to load up Maschine from here. I'm going to enter that in. Just give it a few seconds. It brings up Maschine. To access the individual outputs, just need to go over here now and activate the outputs one by one, or just click on all outputs. Now these are now all available in the mixer, so I'm just going to hit F3 And here you can see all these outputs. So that's quite straightforward as well. Okay, so we're now all set up on the DAW side. So in the coming videos, we'll be taking a look at audio routing in Maschine.